Greetings, Pokefans! Mikoi here. Yes, I had to steal that one. Thanks for asking. And no, don't sue me, Michael. So, today we're gonna do the Euphonos Legacy League Week 1 recap and predict Week 2. I know that game's already happened at the start of the Week 2, but this is going on very late, but I don't care. I record on the day I want to. So today, we're going to cover Week 1 and predict Week 2. I already just said that. What am I thinking? So let's just jump right into it because no more ad lib. Even the OP, the original post, doesn't really explain all the tour because you already know what it is. It's just big teams going in a big boy fight for all the beef. So let's get this started off with Urban Dubwool tying General Lunala. This has been a mostly tie week. Tie is not even a word. People have tied. People have tied a lot, and this is one of the matchups that tied Urban Dubwool versus General Lunala. First off, in the multi-gen OU where Memphis Depay beat Miyoko. This is the first game right now. Gen 7 OU starting off. The game started off really well here. I like the look of Miyoko's team with the addition of Darmanitan, a very non-common OU threat, which is very, very nice. And against Memphis Decay's more commonly used team, like you got the Sand Core right there, along with Celesteela and Magirna, who benefit very well, and Greninja and Clefable, of course, with Magic Guard. So that's really nice. So the game started off first with Darmanitan doing mega damage to Mega Tyranitar. Well, actually, it was original Tyranitar first, but still, that is some big damage already caused to a resisted attack, such as Fire Blitz, going off on an EQ, following up with an EQ shortly after. Then Excadrill came in and Swords Danced, actually Earthquaked first, and Rapid Spin before hitting that Ground DMZ against the Ferrothorn. Very nice play, very nice usage of the Z move to basically kill off one of the mons that could potentially be a threat in the hazard setting Ferrothorn. Magirna was sacked very, very much prematurely to the Darmanitan, killing itself with it, which was very nice, very, very useful right here. And so it was going fairly well. It was going fairly well for Miyoko a little bit until we saw the Tapu Koko go for the Fairy MZ against the Excadrill, but the Excadrill lived. The Excadrill lived, Oko the Tapu Koko. That basically set Memphis Depay off to a pretty nice advantage, as the Mega Scizor here would follow up with a nice Swords Dance shortly after, preserving most of its health, well, all of its health, against the final turns, and Memphis Depay just shortly followed it after with Celesteela, with the Scizor here, leaving Miyoko with the Scizor, go for the Flamethrower, and beat down Miyoko from Memphis Depay to win Game 1. Very, very nicely played there. Then we saw Game 2, where, as you saw here, Miyoko brought Rain, which is a good thing, good idea. A little bit more hyper-offensive Rain, well, with the addition of Regieleki and Tapu Lele, along with Barraskewda, of course. But against Memphis Depay's very, 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 very standard team. So, first and foremost, we saw the Pelipper beating the Tornadoes with a turn 1 crit Oko Weather Ball. Wow! Pelipper putting in some work. And Miyoko saying that the crit mattered a lot. It really did. It really did matter a fair bit in this game. It also confused the Slowbro a bit, so the luck was on Miyoko's side for a little bit. Then the next notable turn happened on turn 11, where we saw the Heatran beating the Pelipper after the hard switch to the Heatran. Which is a fair play. I mean, you want something to come in and basically tank more hits and make Slowbro benefit much more by healing itself off by using regen. Miyoko has all the momentum though. It was very clear, like the beginning of these turns, like Miyoko started off fairly strong. And then we saw one of the biggest MVPs of this game, which is Clefable. Clefable here put in some work. The Rocky helmet, of course, was knocked off, so there goes that item. But Clefable stayed on in there, and just took hits left, right, and center. Even Regieleki wasn't immune because it was burned by Flamethrower. And Clefable just kept tanking hits left and right. Like, Pelipper was poisoned. Regieleki was burned, as we know. And, yeah, the multiple Calm Minds put it in really good position to let Pelipper die to poison. And Barraskewda also couldn't even kill it in one hit. I wonder if... I don't think it was banded now, was it? Because if it was banded, it would totally kill Clefable. But, no. Leaving Tapu Lele to kill it, of course. With Psyshock. And then Memphis Depay is smartly played around Miyoko's Psychic terrains with his own Rillaboom. Rillaboom Grassy terrains definitely worked here. Also setting up the Sword Stance very nicely to kill off Ferrothorn with Superpower was very nicely played. It was very nicely played, and yes, Tapu Lele basically couldn't handle it. Couldn't handle pretty much everything, as Grassy Terrain ultimately won. There's the Grassy Glide, and there's the Garchomp setting up for Tapu Lele to come back in, and then kill off, almost kill off the Garchomp. Of course, it lived the Moonblast at that range to be able to kill it with Earthquake, basically letting Rillaboom come back with Terrain and ultimately pick up the win. Very, very nicely. So, very nicely played. I really thought Miyoko would have it, but no. Memphis Depay proved me wrong and proved to be a very, very strong, at least strong player in this pool of players. A very strong win. Very, very strong win. Next up, we have the best of 3 multi-gen OU between Jack Cuzzler and Waffle04. So we start off with Gen 4 right here. And this one was interesting. So Suicune was doing good damage very early on by, as you can see, the Hydro Pumps definitely help, and as it lead into Breloom dealing with only half health. And then Latias followed up with an Ice Beam. Very nice to have both Hydro Pump and Ice Beam on a bulky mon such as Suicune. And Metagrow. And then Latias came in and killed it and Metagross in return for doing very powerful Dragon Pulses. That was nice. And then Waffle started to have kind of a slight advantage around the middle portion by body slamming Latias and paralyzing it, causing it to succumb to Iron Head flinches before Infernape got the kill on it. And Infernape was basically an asset to Jack Cuzzler by the end, because Tyranitar couldn't, unfortunately, even lost the speed tie to Waffle's own T-Tar. But having Infernape in the back against Mons that are weak to Infernape definitely helped, as both Mach Punches beat Waffle in order for Jack to take the win. That was nice. That was very nice. Next up is Gen 5. This one was quick. This one was quick and easy? I wouldn't say easy. So, this one had both players setting off hazards fairly consistently. Like Ferrothorn was setting up spikes, Lando was setting up rocks, the other Lando was setting up rocks. It was just a big little hazard fest. Rotom burning the Ferrothorn as you saw, Landorus also hitting that hidden power ice against each other was also fairly nice. And then here comes one of the pivotal turns that pretty much decided this game right here. Jack having the T-Tar live off all these surfs and crit killing Latios with a pursuit. Ouch. Damn indeed, buttery crap. So yeah, Waffle was at a disadvantage by this point, having 5 months to 4, and Jack Hustler having his team counteract pretty much everything with Sandcore on it, except maybe Alakazam, but even Alakazam, despite, being Alakazam, Excadrill managed to remove the hazards at one of the perfect times, leaving for Terrakion to live off a Psychic at full health and ultimately close combating it to death, leaving the Sandcore alone to succumb to Landorus and Terrakion. So well done to Jack for playing the old gens well, playing the old gens as an old gen. Good job. Next up, we have the Hisui region versus the Dragon Master. Was there really any doubt who would win here? Well, I wasn't surprised. Are you? Let me know down in the comments below. So, this, in Cam of Chaos, these teams look pretty great. I mean, it's their own build, so Cam of Chaos is a wacky tier, so it really just depends on how skillful your builds are, and both these teams look alright, good to great on some instances. Some were pretty dumb. There were some pretty dumb plays, you know which one. First of all, that first turn pretty much set the precedent immediately, with Advata losing that Blastoise immediately to a Thunderclap from Magnezone. But that didn't really deter him, now did it? So Grimmsnarl went ahead and set up hazards via the webs and the spikes until Regirock beat down the Grimmsnarl with Spectral Thief. And he even tried Destiny Bonding to make sure that he goes down along. But nope. Regirock was able to outplay the prankster Destiny Bond and, beat down the Grimmsnarl. So Advata was clearly at an advantage. So what happened? Well, Dragapult happened. This Dragapult was kind of a monster. It reversed swept basically everything. It wasn't affected by the Clear Body it wasn't affected from the Spectral Thief, or the Strength Sap by Clear Body. And yeah, Ogerpon was also killed off by thing. It was 6-3. And you would think, Advata would lose. Also, friggin' hell, that Mega Diancie beating down the top of Lele. Strong ass thing. But yeah, this Dragapult was genuinely a problem. Gigaton Hammer was dealing a lot. The webs also kind of got to Advata a little bit, making sure that his team wasn't very fairly fit by the end. Maybe Boost would have been a good idea to bring either, regardless. But yeah, Gigaton Hammer was just messing him up. And then towards the end, he got Make It Rain, killing off the Mega Diancie. Yeah. Double Lele, of course, being weak to it, definitely didn't help. So, yeah, Hisui region won by sheer perseverance. Will he do it another week? You decide. Actually, it has been decided, but you still decide. So yeah, that was not dominant. It was a dominant performance by Advita, but ultimately Dragapult was just a big problem. So Isurijin, well done to Isurijin for toughing it out till the end. Next up is SS Cap. This is admittedly the tier that I've kind of the hardest to talk about, because this is the tier where, at least with Cam of Chaos, you kind of know what's going on by looking at the types and see what happens. This with SS Cap, this is all just fluff. So, this is the tier I'm probably going to be talking about the least, but we did get a result here with Ming beating Uwu 1v1. So let's take a look at the matchup right here and see what happens. So the first real notable thing that happened here was the Kartana beating the Argonaut after a sack on turn 17, giving Ming kind of a slight advantage, and then later on just using that Kartana again to his good potential by beating Equilibra on turn 32. Very nicely done. There were some of the points where Zapdos neutered Clefable very well, with Lando picking up the kill on turn 35, as you just saw, and then Toxicking Tornadus the next turn. So Ming felt very dominant in this matchup. And then the final nail in the coffin for Uwu, at least, was the Heat Wave miss against the Zapdos on turn 38. And Tornado died to Volt Switch and basically left. Uwu was basically left with Ferrothorn and Toxapex. Good stallers, but not with 5 Mons about to kill you and hazards against you. So, yeah. This was just a very dominant win from Ming. Well done. Well played, good sir. Might be a potential favorite going into this pool and, proved himself very well. Next up is Usum RU. You got Fiend defeating Seth. Fiend went into the favorite as one of the favorites because of the RU prowess that he has shown over the past couple of years. It seems, even from BLT. And yeah, he's totally proved himself here against Seth. So yeah, Fiend. There were some hacksy moments, but we'll get to them. So Passimian got paralyzed by Slowbro's Thunder Wave early on, poisoned by Bronzong in return. So there goes the regen. Or there goes the regen issue right there. Problem solved. And then Mega Sceptile somehow beat Florges. Right around here, where Sceptile used the Giga Drain to beat the Florges, but Seth Passimian survived with 1 HP on the Dragon Pulse, allowing it to U-turn and do big damage soon after. And then Milotic kind of just poisons Seth's Mega Sceptile, while Fiend continued to set rocks despite Flygon's defogging, and continued to just pressurize the matchup until Seth ultimately forfeited. So well done to Fiend for consistently keeping up with Seth's plays and ultimately just proving stronger. Also, that substitute Leech Seed Dragon Pulse Giga Drain set just really worked. Ultimately, Seth was just too pressurized. Fiend had a real dominant matchup by the end. It was just a good win for Fiend. Next up with Gen 6 UU, where TTK beat Diana Ratson in one of the earlier games that happened during week 1. And this game was something. It was a long game. Started off, pretty much deciding things, because Toy Time King had some things happen right here. Turn 10. Rotom survived a Psychic from Celebi. I'm thinking that is a roll. It should be a roll in Diane Ratson's favor, but ultimately that 1% was just enough for Rotom to kill Hall Celebi, or at least bring it to 1 HP from overheat, allowing it to die to Mean Xiao the next. So Diane Ratson certainly got the short end of the stick there. And after a couple of more boring turns, admittedly, it was just a lot of switching, a lot of pivoting out. This game definitely feels like a Gen 6 UU game, because Gen 6 UU games tend to be long and plodding at times, where it's just hazard sets, Bronzong putting in some setting down things, and then you got the tanking issue, then you got the wish setters, and then it's just a long game until turn 97. Yes, 87 turns later happened with nothing happening. Where we saw Nidoking beat the Bronzong off with an Ice Beam and then a Superpower. Very well. Turn 99, we saw the Aerodactyl going on for a wing attack, and Mega Swampert, not Mega Swampert, well, normal Swampert, living off a wing attack to beat the Aerodactyl with Scald. And then, yeah, there was a miss there, but Florges, allowing Florges to literally heal itself at full. And then, yeah, Diane Ratson basically had a harder matchup by the end, because Hydreigon was burned, and, Florges and Mian Xiao were there. Nidoking was to take care of Florges, and Tentacruel, well, there is Nidoking, but also, Swampert. Oh, no, not Swampert. Swampert's about to die. Well, if it were lucky, it does live off rocks. Does it live off of rocks? I think it will live off of rocks. Anyway, yeah, Nidoking beaten by Tentacruel. Sludge Wave on Florges. Ultimately picking up the win. Toy Time King. Very dominant performance over Deanne Ratson. Very, very good win. Next up, we got Black and White Ubers, where Shitrock and Jorah lost to Society. Well, this game was a doozy. Game was a real doozy. So, Society got off the weather advantage in this one and killed Kyogre very well with the Groudon of all things. And then Darkrai successfully beating Genesect with a crit Focus Blast kill. Society definitely proving itself as the momentum getter very early on. Then we saw Rayquaza Dragon Dancing to gain the sweeping advantage. However, Darkrai continuously chipped at it before Dialga's Rocky Helmet ultimately killed it with Brick Break. 1, Rayquaza carrying Brick Break, alright. And 2, yeah, Dialga carrying Rocky Helmet. I don't think I've seen that every day now, does it? It was Society's Darkrai. It was all Society's Darkrai. Flinching the Arceus Ghost twice before killing it with Dark Pulse. And then Groudon bailed out. Admittedly, it did get bailed out by the second turn Wake at the end to be able to kill off the Kabutops. So yeah, Society almost nearly choked, actually. He really almost nearly choked. Until Groudon just bailed him out. Very, very much bailed him out in order to win the game, the win, and the Ubers. Next up, the one tied, Real Account Ami beating Mentality. So AM switched out in favor of Real Account Ami, and this proved to be a good idea by the Urban Double, as they were able to pick up the win. And it was very. And what happened in this game? Well, starting off with game 1 right here, where it was the Battle of the T-Tars. And Tyranitar with Choppleberry just never works against other Tyranitar, guys. You guys better stop it. Stop it. Stop using Choppleberry. I know it can work against, like, you know, well, if you IV'd your Tyranitar enough, it can survive at least one superpower, but give it a Passo berry or something. Like, I think that would be a more effective berry than Chopple against a 4 times weakness. Why not just give it a Passo berry? At least neuter the 2 times weakness instead. I don't know, just some minor tips there, but I'm not the one playing DPP 1v1. These guys are. I gave Mentality the first leg up. Second game, we saw the Gyarados versus the other Gyarados. So again, another mirror matchup. But this one was very nice. This one was in favor of me this time because the taunt was able to win the speed tie, give it a taunt, and prevent Dragon Dance, and set up the Dragon Dance himself to beat the other Gyarados with a bounce. Nice. Nice win for me. So the score is 1-1. Game 3, we saw a very lucky situation involving the Swampert, where it froze Blissey turn 1, and with Blissey being frozen, Mentality wasn't able to do anything at all, and Swampert basically killed it with a lot of Earth powers and one Hydro Cannon to just blast off Blissey in order for the kill to happen. And game 4, you saw Heracross versus Kingdra. Heracross doing a close combat very well, and Kingdra having just enough to set up the Rain Dance, set up the substitute, use that Patai Berry, but Heracross managed to break off the sub and endure this Draco Meteor from the Kingdra in order to use that Custap Berry and finish off the Kingdra with a close combat in order to win. Well done to me. Well done to me. You got lucky, especially that game 3. You got lucky. But the rest were fairly, we're good. It was a good showcase of outplaying and smart tactics and strategy. That was nice. Next up, the only series that went to a favor, is Up Darmani Down, beating Apom Hiking Society 5-3. First off, we got the multi-gen OU between Hex and Akiras. Well. First off, we had Game 1, which was Gen 7. Now, this is more normal Gen 7 OU, huh? Yeah, this one is the teams I know very well. And this actually was a pretty interesting one. So, Kieran Black first cannot kill the Ferrothorn with the Icium Z, but managed to kill it with Kartana's Sacred Sword shortly thereafter, after some turns of trying to switch itself out. Landorus everywhere. Kartana was able to beat the Landorus actually with the Leaf Blade. It was very nice. It was very nicely played. And then after Landorus and Ferrothorn went down, Kartana and Tapu Lele just kind of swept through Hex's team. Because strong Leles and strong Kartanas too much in the world. Victini also managed to get a kill off the Kieran Black, but Kartana was there, Kartana was present, and Kartana was deadly. Lopunny couldn't survive a Leaf Blade critical hit, and Akiras won. Very straightforward. What about Gen 8? Gen 8, was pretty interesting. Oh, okay, so Gen 8. We saw the Crawdont lead up, but Crawdont really didn't get to do anything, because Landorus just kind of killed it with a U-turn. Well, friggin' U-turn and body press killed the Crawdont. So Crawdont really didn't get to do anything. So, well, rip. Nidoking got to kill some things though. With first off that Landorus with a nasty ice beam. Heatran then tried taunting Akiras's Heatran for no rock setup, who basically killed it in return with Earth Power. While Nidoking did its thing, counteracted by beating the Zapdos with an Ice Beam and a Sludge Wave. And then more shenanigans happened, more just standard general OU affair, until the end, where we saw Rillaboom's Glassy Glide basically killing off everything. Slowbro died, Canada died, the Urshifu, and Weavile. Well, Weavile tried to come back at the end game using the Ice Shard. And Ice Shard nearly got the Rillaboom. Rillaboom killed it with a Grassy Glide, won the game. And Hex managed to tie it up, leading to Generation 9. Gen 9 was interesting. I think all these games are pretty interesting, but this one is especially interesting. So Hex's Ting-Lu started off to beating off Iron Shreds, then used Ruination to halve Hydrapple's HP before Corviknight managed to kill it with Brave Bird. And Swords Dance King Gambit was there, got paralyzed first and foremost by Clefable, but managed to set up the SD anyway to beat Gliscor after a hard switch in, basically rendering that useless. But then lost the King Gambit to a Corviknight's Body Press crit on turn 19. Very unfortunate. Terra Watering against the Terra Fairy Iron Moth to beat it with Brave Bird after surviving a Fiery Dance, so a good use of the Terra there. And then Clefable, in the end, just kind of tanked Dragonite's attacks, because it had Unaware. And Unaware Clef. Actually, wait. It's not even Unaware. It's freaking Magic Guard. And it was able to do tanking very well. Like, look at that. Yeah, it was Magic Guard. I even rewinded a little bit in the game. It was 100% Magic Guard to win off against the Dragonite, and then win off against the Zamazenta. It really just shows how the power of a really bulky Clefable could honestly do. I wouldn't be surprised if this was Bold Nature 252 plus defense with Defense Girl. Would have been real funny, but Hex picking up the win. Alright, so next up we have Shing defeating Alpha 1013. Oof, I am tired. So, this series went to 3. Much like the previous one. So, we had long games this one, guys. First off, we have the stuff with the Thing. The Milotic beating off the Gengar by the Surf after a Toxic Spike set up by a Nidoqueen, giving Shing kind of the early advantage here. Then Swampert killed the Milotic with 2 crit Earthquakes back to back. Turns 14 and 15, where do you want to look at? Dying to Jirachi's Iron Head shortly after. Then came Jirachi, and Jirachi hits the Thunders, and hits all the thunders. And Polion was boosting itself. Like, look at that. You got the agility boost early on. You got the Pataya Berry. You got Torrent. You had basically everything going in Polion's way. And then Jirachi just happened to paralyze the damn thing. Having that Pataya Berry and that Torrent boost was nice, but being slower than a Jirachi meant you were going to die, and you were going to die a very, very painful death that even Dragonite, well, couldn't do, really. Because Life Orb, even with Life Orb, Jirachi was too bulky enough to beat the D-Knight. Only due to a miss from Scizor was it able to finally succumb. Jirachi is great, you guys. Scizor was then going on a mega rampage, beating Nidoqueen and beating Clefable in one hit with superpower. But Gliscor finally managed to stop the rampage with a nice little earthquake. And Bronzong managed to finish off the Breloom after he got a crit kill on Gliscor. Bronzong was able to Gyro Ball it. Gyro Ball it did. Win the game. For shing, 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 shing. So after that Gen 4 game, we saw Gen 6. And Gen 6 was kind of a doozy. First of all, we got Clefable catching the Excadrill off with Flamethrower. That was nice. Then Toxic, the Excadrill counteracted that by using Toxic on the Tornadus in return. Then Mega Diancie bounced back Tyranitar's Thunder Wave attempt later on. Right around here, he was trying to go for the Weavile, but Mega Diancie was still there, still was able to Magic Bounce and beat the Tyranitar with that turn 21 Assault. But Alpha was well into the lead. He can't afford to have Mega Diancie lose. Well, not lose. He was just preserving it in the bag in case if he needs it. Basically, what I'm trying to say is this man has still mons to burn. Pun obviously intended. He has still mons to preserve and burn and save up in order for the final kill, because Shing was already left with a Mega Medicham and a Rotom. And so, yeah, the Mega Diancie was able to beat the Mega Medicham and was able to beat the Rotom with a Moonblast for Alpha to win. And win he did. And next is Game 3. Game 3 was interesting. So, it was an interesting first turn where we saw Landorus use Hidden Power Ice against the Zash Garchomp, who let it set up Get Rocks, set up the Swords Dance, and got killed by U-Turn shortly after. Was Alpha expecting a switch? I have no clue. But he was probably expecting a U-turn by the Lando. But no, or at least a hard switch. But no. Lando stayed in, set up routes, and got to U-turn it off for kill. Next notable turn was Rotom then getting to outspeed Starmie, and with the Choice Scarf, right around here. And yeah. Well, and then came a truly sad end to this series. Volcarona setting up very nicely with the Quiver Dances. Lost the Life Orb to Ferrothorn's knockoff, but burned it until Ferrothorn revealed Lumberry. Lumberry Ferrothorn is something you really don't see every day. Now do you? After multiple gyro balls and Tyranitar being there, Volcarona then misses its Fire Blast against the T-Tar, and causing a very, very sad Volcarona to just keelhole itself by the Sandstorm. And shing, 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 picked up the wing, 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 wing. I'm just making a thing out of this now, am I? So, Shing won, beating Alpha. Truly a sad end to their series, but hey, at least the first two games were nice. Next up was Banded Body Press, beating the Velcroc in the Kamov Chaos. Let's see what happened here, shall we? They brought interesting teams, very bulky teams, actually. Banded Body Press especially brought something real bulky, only really having Zeraora and Lycanroc as, you know, your frail but sweepy boys. The rest are all big chunk lads against Velcrocs. Well, mostly big chunk lads, but there's also like, it's more balanced. It's more balanced that way. So we have the first couple of turns where we saw the Zeraora's Nasty Plot Steam Eruption and go off on a quite the hitch, beating up the Latias very nicely. Like, that was a nice little Steam Eruption kill right here. Then BBP's Alamamola beat Velcroc's own Latias by giving it the biggest metal burst you've ever seen. That Torch Song did a lot. That Torch Song quite did a lot. But since it's boosting itself, no choice. The metal burst would kill it. Then Velcroc had the threat, a very, very big threat, in potentially a choice band stakeout Mabostiff, who was doing some big damage, and looked threatening. Colossal was beaten with quite the ease with Combat Torque. Eventually, Zeraora did its good thing and beat it with the nasty Oblivion Wing with Nasty Plot boost. And then Zeraora just continuously healing itself off and just, winning the game. Even Velcroc's own Zeraora just had to say, hey, that thing's doing mighty good damage. Let me do that. Nope. Zeraora proved to be a monstrous threat. Should be banned. Just anything Oblivion Wing Nasty Plot should be banned. Zeraora definitely in contention for quickest ban in Kamov Chaos following this tour. So next up we have SS Cap. Uta the Clown defeating Earthflax. See what I said about not being high on Uta Clown? Well, he kind of cheesed this game, actually. To an extent, but still, it was, generically played. Maybe I shouldn't place faith in much in Earthflax. I'm just being a dick all around, am I? But yeah, it was kind of a cheesy win. Like, nothing much else to say here. We got Top Coco, who set up the screen. Who set up both the reflect up to have at least one notable kill that being the Halucha beating the Blaziken, who looked in a good position to be threatening, ultimately dying to an acrobatics. And then Capo Coco went back in and set up both Reflect and Light Screen, while Earthflax just set up one measly Aurora Veil. And Commodore came around and did its belly drum thing, and did its sweepy sweep thing, and yeah, Commodore, one of the most fearsome mons in the tier ever. With this one strat, it just basically became the menace that it is. It's just another example of why Commodore is too damn OP in cap. So well done, Utah, for just absolutely running away with Commodore. Next up, we had Gulch versus Neomon in Usum RU. Oh, this brings back a lot of memories. seeing this particular team structure after all these years made me feel old in a way. But yeah, this game was definitely a stark reminder of why Gen 7 RU was an interesting tier. I really have nothing to say much. It's just interesting, okay? So, it started off fairly slow. Both players trying to feel each other off with some rocks hazards and Vaporeon getting toxic, leading to Miss Magius just utterly obliterating it with Electrium Z. With Electrium Z move on Vaporeon. Very well. Registeel failed to kill the Mandibuzz multiple times after being taunted and multiple seismic tosses. Mandibuzz just kind of got the best of Registeel with this one, being faster and just being a nuisance. And then some odd few turns later, we saw turn 69, where we saw the Noivern catching the Flygon hard switch on that turn, and ultimately Noivern just utterly obliterating it with a nasty Draco Meteor. But Gulch wasn't deterred from that. Gulch pressed on, carried on, and became the champ this time, with not only Drapion getting to manage to poison the Mandibuzz at the end, but also Slowbro, despite being toxic and despite, having the type disadvantage against the Mandibuzz here with Psych versus Dark, was able to stall it out. That hard switch. First of all, that switch, and then ultimately, Mandibuzz just kind of died. Lost all its roosts, too, in order for Neomon to just lose to Slowbro. Well done, Gulch, for toughing it out, and it was a pretty good game. Next up, we have Oras UU, where we got Banbadooru beating the Seru. Oh, Banbadoro. That team is disgustingly tanky. Oh, man. Blissey and Gligar, ugh. Against Seru's fairly standard team, which this time didn't pay off with a good win. So Slowking, well, first things first big mistake by Seru here is just, letting Slowking get toxic when he really shouldn't have. And Cobalion and Hydreigon getting paralyzed early on was also very bad. A very bad omen here for Seru. Putting himself at a disadvantage quite early on. Celebi then survived multiple Suicune Ice Beams to kill Hydreigon off with Giga Drain. Very nasty turn, this one. So there's the Suicune, there's the hard switch by the Hydreigon in order to kill off by the Celebi. Very nice. Gardevoir managed to trick the Suicune into using only Choice Scarf Scald. That was nice. But, yeah, and ultimately stalling it out with the Slowking. Mega Aerodactyl using Aerial Ace to kill Minxiao. Celebi finishing off Suicune. and Gardevoir, with multiple hazards being stacked up against him, against Bambador's rocks only. It was pretty hard for Seru to just catch up by the end, and Bambador ultimately won. So well done. Well done, Bambadoro. I thought he was washed. He kinda isn't. He just stayed consistent. Next up is Black and White Ubers, where we saw Kazin beating Inaros. So, oh yeah, this first turn was funny. So, Kazan managed to burn off the Arceus first and foremost. Arceus fighting, of course, managing to Toxic Giratina, but managing to burn again using the Giratina's Will-O-Wisp against Tyranitar. So Kazan was effectively running 2 Will-O-Wisp bursts and managing to burn 2 of Inaros' Mons. Alright, good start, I guess, for Kazan. Then Ferrothorn actually went to work with the hazard setting. That's nice. Shaman then beat Latias with the nasty Earth Slash. And Earth Slash, good writing me. Air Slash attempts, even after Latias tried. Well, he could have, Inaros could have tried to PP stall against Air Slash, but Air Slash did have more PP, so really, it wouldn't have mattered. Kyogre managing to knock out Genesect after it beat Shaman. That was nice. And then, Kyogre just kind of finished off Excadrill at the end. It was just a nothing Ubers game. And it was just there. It was nice that it was the final game of the series, and it made Kazan look good, at least, by beating Inaros. But ultimately, it was just a nothing burger Ubers game that saw Kazan picked up the win. Nice. Well done, Kazan, for picking up the win. That's all I gotta say. Next up is Bluff. Best of 5 DPP 1v1 between Stravench and Dreepy. So this best of 5 series was weird. I like watching these DPP 1v1 games, not only because they're quick, but they're also easy to see what faults some of these players have. First of all, here's the Tyranitar with Choppleberry version 3. With Hariyama beating the T-Tar with a close combat after going for Stone Edge first. Alright, but there's the Choppleberry, which able to kill off the Tyranitar with ease, beating Dreepy Revenge 1. Next was game 2, and this one was actually really smartly played by Dreepy. So, Weavile did one thing to Suicune, which was very effective, which was first deciding what move Suicune was going to be locked with. In this case here, Signal Beam. Okay, which makes sense. Stravench wants to ensure the kill with against a dark type, and Weavile being faster not only helps, but also, it's just a real quick and easy, get stalled out strat that any Weavile user would use. So the sub protect games were there. Weavile just didn't do anything much. It was just sub protect. And since pressure, also Weavile was pressure, so Suicune was losing PP twice. As well as, Weavile can afford to just, constantly switch between subbing and protecting because he's got PP to burn. Meanwhile, Stravench is just locked to one move, basically being unable to do anything else but burn out all 24, or at least in this case 12, of his PPs for Signal Beam. And then using Spite at the last moment to at least get the game a little faster, and having Weavile's health be preserved for just a little bit more, because Weavile was going for because any other move would have been not only bad but also kind of eh. So Suicune was just basically left to do the struggle. And I don't think crit struggle can crit. Could it? Also taunt. So Weavile basically had no attacks. And so Weavile was just basically left to just protect, sub, and until Suicune died itself to struggle. Yeah, very smartly played by Dreepy overall. Next up was Game 3, and Stravenge took revenge very quickly here. Raikou versus Empoleon. Raikou was like, Empoleon was like, okay, I'm at a disadvantage here, but you know what? I could just endure. Empoleon can just do its stuff. Raikou instead was saying, no, bitch. I'm a sub. I'ma just wait it out and make sure that endure strat doesn't work. So, the endure strats were there. Raikou does the Thunderbolt, and so you would think, oh, Empoleon has Gustap Berry, he gonna do the thing. Well, Raikou just protects. Gustap Berry works. Hydro Cannon got protected. And so Raikou was just free to set up the Thunderbolt and ultimately die. What a smart move. Having Protect on your Raikou against your Gustap Berry Empoleon. So, haha. So very smart plays for both Game 2 and 3. They were very smartly played 1v1 games. I should really nick some of these strats there. Yeah, Game 4, we saw the Gyarados beat the Infernape off with Waterfall. So that was just kind of a meh, nothing. Turn 1, get rich quick. Or in this case, tie the series quick. Into a Game 5 where we saw Dragonite survive a bullet punch from Scizor. Instead did the manga to Scizor in order to win this game. And Dreepy won. Okay. So Dreepy won. Very nicely played. I really like those Game 2 and 3s. Those are to be studied. Next up in the final series that happened was the Radioactive Sliggoo project tying the Snivy of Spades. Starting off with the best of 3 multi-gen OU between 7, 8, and 9, between Hori and Wesley in the Mii game. And if you thought those previous games of like Gen 7 RU and Gen 6 UU were long, you ain't seen nothing yet. This bitch went on for 100 turns. And counting. It started off really funny with Chansey getting frozen by Mega Latios's Ice Beam, forcing a switch out. That was really funny. Then Ferrothorn and Skarmorace then started to trade off spikes. Then Chansey and Hippowdon started trading off rocks. That was also really funny. And then it was just switch out and switch out and switch out and switch out for a very, very long time. Until turn 35, when we saw something notable finally happen. Tapu Koko beating off the Hippowdon very nicely with Hidden Power Ice. And OHKOing the ever-living frick out of Reuniqueless with a nasty Gigavolt Havoc. Nice. Then it was just a very slow proceedings from here on out. Hori definitely had the Mons advantage, But Wesley could easily take it back and if he manages to stall it out. But there's so many hazards in the way, bro. It keeps getting harder and harder to just stall things out. So Megalatias actually proved quite the threat by having both Ice Beam and Thunder. One against Toxapex and the other against, well, Gliscor and the Scizor and the other Megalatias. But hey, nothing really much of note. Anything happens here, really. There weren't any kills to speak of, except for maybe one or two that you've probably seen. But then turn 91 happens where Latias goes for the Thunder. Ice Beam manages to do its thing. Crits Chansey the next turn, so Chansey's just having a real bad time against Latias here. And then the final bits of notable happening was turn 112, where we saw Gliscor survive on 1 HP. 1 HP against the Mega Latias. Was able to deal a nasty facade to kill it. And yeah, the rest of the game went out exactly as you would expect. With Wesley basically having 3 stall mods with nothing to deal good damage with. Against Tapu Koko, who was relatively okay in terms of poison, but can't come back in because there was too many hazards. Same thing with Chansey. Megalatias and Gliscor were boys. They were boys and they were levitating mons, so they were unfazed by the whole thing. Skarmory was basically his last resort until Megalatias killed it, and there's caused the forfeit. So yeah, long game. Wouldn't want to rewatch it again, especially when you're watching it at not 2x speed like everybody else. And Hori picked up a win. Yeah, Gen 8 was thankfully and admittedly a little shorter, but things still happened. Things still happened here. First notable turn happened on turn 15 or so, where after a couple of lazy turns, we saw the Urshifu killing the Garchomp, surviving the rough skin with 1%. Like right around here. Also, it was just a bad idea to just protect on that Urshifu. So yeah, there's the Wesley surviving a 1 HP against a Garchomp. That was nice. Then saw turn 21, where we saw the Weavile dodging the Magma Storm, setting up the Sword Stance, immunizing the Frick out of Future Sight, and then crit killing it the very next turn. And yeah, that basically decided it, because Weavile would have just mega killed the rest of the competition. Maybe even try outspeeding against its other Weavile. Or maybe just had Brick Break to deal with it. I don't know. But in the end, Hori picked up the win. Very, very nice. Let's move on to Blazing versus Dunox and the other multi-gen OU. Was there really ever any doubt? Was there really ever any doubt that Dunox was going to win over Blazing? I sure as hell wasn't surprised, because Dunox played extremely well here. First of all, the Zapdos paralyzing the Azelf on turn 1, who tried exploding on Breloom, but it protected. Yeah, the Rain Dance was set, but forcing the thing, but the explosion ensured that, Breloom was to be preserved and kept there in the back. Omastar then came out, and being the swift swim sweeper that it is, killed off the Clefable very nicely. So Blazing did feel somewhat like in the lead, at least for the next couple of courses when he had the rain up. Um, Kingdra's Hydro Pump was able to kill off the Skarmory, and then Dragon Pulse killing Breloom and Zapdos later on, right around here. Of course, missing that Hydro Pump was very funny, but otherwise, it was just Dragon Pulse City, bitch. And until Latios killed it. And then Latios just kind of reverse swept the rest after Rain was gone. Because Calm Mind boosts were Calm Mind boosts. And being Latios' specialty, just proceeded to Calm Mind even more. Draco Meteor wasn't going to be a factor because because it was already boosted twice thanks to Calm Mind. Recover was also there for, general, like, Stolly support. And then just, went ham on the Dragon Pulsing. Went ham on the Dragon Pulsing, even knocking out Scizor with a hidden power fire. Beating Real Blazing, Dunox, winning. Okay. I keep talking of as Real Blazing. Is it actually Real Blazing, or am I easy just blazing? Blazing it. Maybe I should call him Blazing instead. Anyway, Gen 6 OU was played next. And so things happened here. First of all, the Hippowdon managing to keel haul Mega Charizard Y with the nasty ass Stone Edge. So even though he brought out the drought and it lived the flamethrower to just keel hole it with Stone Edge, and then Slowbro later burned the Excadrill. Yes, it might have been a bad idea to go on to use a water move in Sun, but it did manage to do its thing and burn the Excadrill, so it still worked out in Dunox's favor. So Clefable then went and did a good thing, a very silly thing, but a good thing. It managed to heal Bell. So bye-bye Slowbro's poison, bye-bye Hippowdon's burn, and bye-bye Tornadus' paralyze. So everything just got benefited from Clefable healing all those status effects, while Blazing suffers as an Excadrill who got burned, leaving up to Pursuit, and managing to remove rocks thanks to his own Excadrill's insane tactics. Next is Thundurus, managing to paralyze Mega Charizard X, who then killed it in return with Flare Blitz. And Heatran got killed by the earthquake before Blazing ultimately forfeited, and Dunox won. So again, very strongly played by Dunox. Very strongly played. Next up, we have Move Chaos between Class and Haha Gamer, which Class won. And there wasn't any. This one, I wouldn't be like, was there ever any? No, this was actually like two very competent Move Chaos players battling it out to see who can create more Move Chaos better, or canonically, continually, and crushingly against a Move Chaos threat. Okay, no, I'll stop with your alliteration for now. But we start things off with Dragapult doing its thing, critting Tangrowth with a nasty Gigaton Hammer. And then Class counteracted by Taker doing kind of a dumb thing and going for Electro Drift against the Rhydon. Kind of a dumb thing there, allowing it to set up spikes. That was pretty funny. Volcanion then missed Precipice Blades, in which Toxapex managed to use Mortal Spin to get rid of the hazards. And then we saw on turn 31, we saw the Excadrill, Ghost Team Z, after Swords Dance boost, managed to kill off the Regirock with a boosted Ghost Team Z, a never-ending nightmare. Megatitar then beat the Volcanion with a Diamond Storm Stone Axe combo, setting up both rocks and managing to cause big damage. Then Excadrill managed to defeat Magnezone with Spectral Thief, and Megatitar tanked the Mega Manectric Sacred Swords to beat it with a flip turn, and ultimately winning the game. Altaker forfeited shortly afterwards, because he only had Dragon Ball left. Glass, hopefully this redeems you from TPP, buddy. Yeah, he was fairly strong there, I will admit. And he did pull off a nice win. He did pull off a very nice win. Next is SS Cap, where Dex beat Concept Everything. This one's also quite the long game. Primarily because look at the teams they brought. Well, Dex's team. The Concept Everything was a little bit more balanced. But Dex, man. Alright, so first off, we had the Slow King beating the Equilibra after multiple Scalds and tanking Earth Power. Was very nice. And then Gastrodon managing to Toxic the Zapdos, who then paralyzed Clefable first before dying to the poison. It was very nice. And then a couple of turns later, again another fairly slow process, but Concept Everything was continuously losing mines. Dex had the advantage for a little bit. And then turn 75, where we saw an interesting thing. Weakness Policy, Revenant. Doing Poltergeist damage. Clefable, though, tanked a lot and beat it after a unfortunate miss. Right here on turn 75. So Dex was able to kill that and basically put away Concept Everything, despite having a heat set with a Revenant Weakness Policy. Beat it in order to win. Next up is Clem versus LBN on Gen 7. Are you? Oh boy. Let me tell you about this game. First off, the Bronzong OHKOing the Vanillux really early on with the Gyro Ball. Okay, Clem. Then Xatu getting crit OHKO'd by the Florges on turn 12, and you're thinking, oh man, is this going where I think it's going? But Clem somehow managed to do some sweepy things with a Snorlax of all things. A frustration Snorlax, so this is basically Clem channeling their frustrations after being lucked out on the first couple of turns. Beating the Sceptile and the Bronzong before surviving most of Florges' Moonblasts, whilst being toxic itself, managed to kill it with Facade. Bro had frustration and Facade on a Snorlax before it being killed. That was nice. Then Slowbro crit killed the Donphan with Scald before surviving Golisopod's first impression to kill it with Psychium Z. Then healing itself against Drapion's attacks by just continuously switching out, switching in, switching out, using that to his advantage, and then killing it off with a nasty Scald in order to win the game. Somehow, some way, Clem picked up the win in a very hacksy game. Shrug emoji. Shrug, shrug, shrug. Emoji, emoji, emoji. Next up is Lara beating True Psycho in the Gen 6 UU game. So, True Psycho was right. Maybe I shouldn't be just picking things off my gut and just laying out there in the video. So yeah, Lyra won against True Psycho. Again, this game wasn't just very eventful, really. Like, actually, no, there were things that were actually very eventful here. So let's talk about them. First of all, Cobalion set up against Crobat very nicely with a sword stance and agility set, and then flinched to kill it, which was okay. But Celebi proved that its matchup was so very good against True Psycho's team, except for Absol. But the rest of it just kind of dies somehow to Celebi. So yeah, this was basically the winningest con in this entire game, catching the psychics on both Crobat and Min Xiao, killing the latter. Then Mega Swampert, despite being burned by the Mega Absol's Will-O-Wisp, defeated it with a high roll earthquake, just surviving the knockoff and killing it with a very high roll earthquake. That's something you don't see every day. Celebi continued to be quite the asset, beating the Seismitoad and then eventually beating the Cobalion at the end to win. So that was a nice little thing. Nice little thing. What a nice little thing Celebi is. Next up, the penultimate matchup. My voice is on fire right now, but Bread Sandwich beating Ray in Black and White Ubers. Wow, what a game this was, as ladies and gentlemen. So, first off, we had the Deoxys nearly killing the Arceus Ghost with Dark Pulse, and damn nearly killed Kyogre to death with the superpower. Couldn't manage to do it, allowing it to rest itself, and scalded to death. So that was bad, but Red Sandwich did not deter from that, now did he? So Arceus then used Brick Break to beat Ferrothorn. Well, first beat Ferrothorn, and then came possibly one of the coolest strats I've seen in Black and White Ubers. So after dodging that Will-O-Wisp, which would have been pretty bad, Arceus used Shadow Force Power Herb to beat down the Arceus Ghost. That is very interesting. Nobody's ever used a thing like that before, and it proved even better with a crit kill on Kyogre with the E-Speed. And then the rest was just Arceus E-Speeding everything else to win. So yeah, cool little strat. I would love to see more of that from Bread Sandwich. And yeah, neat little win. And then finally, and the final series was this 4-game set in DPP 1v1. How fitting, 4 games in Gen 4. From RTM versus Nuxel, or NUXL. NU Extra Large. That's what I'm gonna call it. NU Extra Large. So first off, what a turn 1 this is. I can't even tell if it was Hidden Power Water or Hidden Power Grass. But Ready Set Goku the Rhyperior ultimately fell to a Raikou. That is really funny. RTM picking up that win first hand there. Then came Game 2, where we saw the Slacking versus the Rotom. The Shadow Claw proved to be quite the gangbuster, killing off the Rotom, giving Nuxel that win there. Then we saw Game 3 with the Armaldo using the Endure Custap Berry, who wanted to endure twice. One Hydro Pump, one Endure Custap Berry later, beat off the Starmie with the X Scissor, causing a new extra large to go for 2-1. And then finally, in Game 4, we saw Raikou surviving Aerodactyl's massive earthquake to beat it with a Thunderbolt. I don't even know if it's Sash, but yeah, there you go. So it was an honor to play you finally. So it was, a show of respect from both Nuxel and RTM, and it was a very quick 1v1 match. Ultimately, Nuxel picked up the win. So I'd say I did good in my predictions. Didn't do the best. I don't know. Who knows? And now, after that long and winded recap of the week 1, let's now move on to week 2 matchups. And Euphonos, my co-host, actually took my comments from the last video to, just individually pick the starting gen instead of having all of them be set to just one specific, okay, here's the thing you're gonna pick for all of these matchups. I kind of want things to be individual, give it a little bit more variety, give it a little bit more flavor. So have them individually pick instead for each matchup would work better in this kind of tour. So here you go. So week 2, we start off with the Apom Hiking Society versus the Radioactive Slinko Project. First of all, in best of 3 multi-gen OU, we got Ineros versus Hori. And they're starting off with Gen 7 being the first gen played. Now, Hori proved well by beating Wesley. Ineros did not do very well against Kazin last week, so I think this is a pretty, 50-50 shut-in, So, good. They have not. So I am going to be safe here and choose Hori. Hori is going to win a pretty safe game, I'd say. I think this would be a 2-game series. I don't really have that much faith in Ineros after week 1. So I think this is going to be a Hori win. Next up is the other multi-gen OU, which they will be playing Gen 4 first. We have Xing 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 versus Blazing Zing Zing Zing. It's going to be a shining ning 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 example for either of them. So what will it be? Will it be a Xing or will it be a Blazing? Well, I, for one, I'm very high on Xing after last week. And Blazing, he really does need some improvement now, does he? I'm going Xing. Xing did well against Alpha last week, and I was very impressed for what he did. Blazing in his matchup with Dunox, well, I did not have much faith afterwards, now did it? So, yeah, I'm going Xing. Next up is Kamove Chaos. Banded Body Press versus Class. Both won their respective games last week, so this should be a very interesting test to see who is the better of the two. And both are very high here. Banded Body Press, as you know, Euphonos is a fan of them. And Class, very consistent. He's a very consistent OMMs guy, and, having dabbled into the Kamove Chaos for Class, he's definitely got some good stuff planned. So I trust him and his builds, and I also trust Banded Body Press with his builds and strats. So who to pick? I'm actually gonna go with Class. I think the tried and true experience from TPP and for the past that he's done in OMMs will put him at a more of a distant advantage over Banded Body Press. But I wouldn't be surprised if Banded Body Press wins if Class decides to, bring something funny for once. But I think he'll take it seriously, and I think Class will pick up the win here. If he does take it seriously, then it's a Class win. Next up is SS Cap, Concept versus Earthflax. Both lost last week, so it's about to be a pretty interesting time. But I think who looks stronger in defeat works better. I think the one stronger in defeat would work much better. So I'm gonna go with Concept Everything, because I generally like to play a little bit more than Earthflaxes against Utah. So yeah, I think Concept Everything should fare a little bit better here. Next up is Usum RU, LBN versus Akeras. Now, LBN had a pretty hacksy game last week. Meanwhile, Akeras, this is his first, foray into this meta, being slotted in here. But I do believe he might have some experience before, so I can say, hopefully I can trust his playstyle a little bit. I haven't really seen Akeras all that much, but for what it's worth, he could do well if he's given a proper team. I am going to go with LBN, though, despite, getting almost robbed, essentially, against Clem. Well, actually, both of them equally got robbed in some places. It's just LBN took the losing end here. But I think LBN will bounce back here with a pretty good win. That's what I'll say. Oras, UU. We got Seru versus Lyra. Lyra, I was pretty impressed in his match against True Psycho. And Seru, unfortunately, didn't really impress me all too well against Bambadoro. So, I think I'm going Lyra. On this one. I think that's a pretty safe pick. Next up is Black and White Ubers. We got Neomon versus Bread Sandwich. Now, Bread Sandwich won last time with a pretty good set. Neomon's an old head. He's been around since 2017. So he's definitely got the experience. But after seeing last week against Gulch, this might be a little bit, he's got a lot of catching up to do, basically. I'm gonna go with Bread Sandwich. Because he did impress me with that Arceus Shadow Force Power Herb set. And I hope to see more of that, please. I just want to see more, creative sets in these old gens. And hopefully people take my advice. Just like in this one. Best of 5 DPP 1v1. We got Dreepy versus RTM. RTM, of course, done a lot in the past. But Dreepy, up and comer. 5 their games versus Stravench were probably some of my favorite games. That was probably my favorite series in terms of DPP 1v1 for the week. So I really like what they've done there for games 2 and 3 specifically. But RTM could pull off some unique sets and hopefully match what Dreepy does. But Dreepy, I think I'm going with the underdog here. I think I'm going Dreepy. Dreepy to win. Next up is the Urban Dubwool versus the Darmani Down. Darmani Down having one win. Well, having one win against the Urban Dubwool, who merely tied last week, so this should be pretty interesting. First off, we have the best of 3 multi-gen OU, where we'll have Hex versus Miyoko, starting off with Gen 7. And this match actually happened, which Miyoko won. Would I have picked Miyoko? Oh, hard to say, actually. This one's a bit more 50-50 for me. Hex could do well in some instances, but Miyoko could also do well in some instances and could potentially, pull off some good wins. And fortunately enough, I did hear. I've yet to see the game myself, though, so you're gonna get my recap of that next week. But good job for Miyoko for winning this. Maybe I would have picked Hex, so I'll take the L there. I'll be gracious enough to take the L. But who knows? Who knows when I'll actually see the game? Next up is the other multi-gen OU. We got Alpha losing to Jack Husler, which I would have predicted either way. I would have predicted Jack to win after seeing what he can do last week. I think he's going to be a strong player going forward and should definitely be a threat in these upcoming weeks. Jack Husler maybe should be more feared here in this other best of gen multi OU. Gen multi OU. Next up is Cam of Chaos, where we got Velcroc versus the Dragon Master. Talk about underwhelming. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to both players. I don't know. Both can be good. Both have played week 1. It's just both have a tendency to not play very well in the coming weeks afterwards. Like, who to pick? Just for experience sake, I think I'll go with Dragon Master. But he does have a tendency to choke a bit, especially the game versus we'll see week 1 against the Yasui region to know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I think I'm going Advita for this one. Hopefully he does manage to eke out a win here against Velcroc. I am a little bit more confident in him rather than Velcroc, so hopefully this is not a bad omen. SS Cap, Ming versus Utah. Talk about a one-sided matchup. I'm going Ming. All the way Ming. Ming impressed me after last week. And despite Utah the Clown winning last week, I don't see it happening again, sadly. I think Ming's going to win. Next up, we have Usum RU, Fiend versus Gulch. This one should be fun. This one should be fun and very, very fun. Both players won last week, and despite Gulch doing pretty well against Neomon, I think Fiend has proven to be experienced enough and as well individually supported enough in order to win very comfortably in Usum RU. So, yeah, this one's going to Fiend. This one's going to Fiend very well. Next up is Oros UU Banbadoro versus Deanne Ratson. I'm going Banbadoro here. Banbadoro proved well. Hopefully this continues to be an upward momentum for Banbadoro, proving that he isn't washed. He likes this tier. He does like this tier. Gen 6 UU. It's proven to be a good tier for him. So I'm confident in having Banbadoro win here and seeing how he can do moving forward. Next up is Black and White Ubers. We got Kazin versus Shitrock Enjoyer. Do I really gotta say that name all throughout? Yes, unfortunately so. But I think here, I think I'm going Kazin. I think I'm going Kazin to win here. SE didn't really impress me last week, so yeah. This one should be fairly easy. DPP 1v1, Stravenge versus Real Account to Me. Both players looked very good. Stravenge, despite losing, looked very good in defeat. While Real Account to Me, well done against Mentality. Well played, good sir or madam. But in terms of who I want to pick, I think I'm going with my Filipino boy, Stravenge. I do think Stravenge is going to win. Despite losing last week, I think Stravenge is going to bounce back easily with a win here. Well, not easily. Maybe 4 games. Maybe 4 games, and that's the best we'll do. Next up is the final series. We got the General Lunala versus the Snivy of Spades. First of all, the multi-gen OU of 789. We got Memphis Depay versus Wesley. And Memphis Depay actually won their series in 2 games. I would have picked them either way. I do I do want to pick them regardless because I do think they are the better player of the two. So, and I've been more impressed with their skill other than the two. So yeah, that's a Memphis Depay win. Next up is the other multi-gen OU. We got Waffle 04 versus Dunox. Poor Waffle. Poor sweet Waffle. I could be asked. They say. I couldn't be asked to predict for a much more favored GOAT in order for Dunox. So I'm picking Dunox. Next up is Camu of Chaos, the Hisui region versus Haha Gamer. Can't believe this man went 0-2. The Hisui region won, making their record 2-0. Haha Gamer, man. First getting Kloss, then getting the Hisui region. Oh boy, 0-2. Rough patch for El Taker here, but hopefully this doesn't spell the bad things for him. But yeah, Hisui region won. It is to be expected. I would have picked El Taker, but yeah, I think Hisui region deserves at least some wins here. So SS Cap, we got Too Large Game In versus Dex. I mean, despite the name and despite the fan favoritism, I don't see Too Large Game Men winning against Dex. So yeah, I'm going Dex. I'm going Dex just for the, not only for better name, but also like better player. Gen 7 RU, we got Seth versus Clem. Another highlight match. Clem, very widely known as one of the better players here, and then Seth, who is a good player, a very good player indeed. I'm gonna pick Clem. I think Clem impressed me more. Despite getting hacked a lot against LBM, I think Clem genuinely deserves to be called the better player more, and I think they're gonna win against Seth. Oros, Yu, Toy Time King versus Lamina. First time seeing Lamina here. And yeah, I think was impressed enough by TTK to make me want to pick him, at least for this matchup. We've yet to see what Lamina can do, and hopefully they do great. But I think I'm picking Toy Time King. I'm thinking I picked Toy Time King to win. Back in white Ubers, we got Society versus Maiden Morningstar, or Madeline Morningstar, who is a newcomer. Welcome. Society. Unfortunately, we've yet to really see how Madeline Morningstar can do, but I think Society is just better overall as a player and just can ultimately win stuff more. Oh, no way. I'm thinking I'm picking Society. What more else can you say? Then finally, we got DPP 1v1, Burn versus Nuxel. This one's about to be fun. Both players. One's a moderator, one's a UMPL champion. So you know both these have got to be good. Both players having the pedigree that they have. This is about to be a very fun one. Should be a very fun matchup to decide it. Hopefully it goes to 5-game series. I think I'm going Nuxel after last week though, but Burn could easily surprise us. We have yet to see how Burn can really burn down, but as for the predicts, I'm going Nuxel. I wouldn't be surprised if Burn wins. So that was my very long and winded predicts, and since I don't have a co-host with me, oh boy. Thank you all for watching, though. Please like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe. Click that notification bell so you won't miss a video once it comes out. And I'll see you next week for more Euphonos Legacy League of Legends Champions predictions. This has been Mikoi, signing out. Goodbye.